We're going to do the camel today, which we haven't done for a while. And the camel is an exercise that demands the whole of the spine to be really active and to form a very good smooth curve. And so the main theme that I want to focus on is the awareness of the spine. If we can direct our awareness to every single section of the spine, so the spine can then form this very homogeneous and smooth and thorough curve. So we don't want little sections of the spine to be left out and neglected from our awareness. We want to be able to try and form a mental picture and an observation of this whole curve that the spine forms in the camel. So we'll come to the camel towards the end, and we'll work on other exercises that can prepare the spine beforehand. Would you like to start in the standing position? Let's start straight away with the sun prayer, taking the feet together, taking your awareness to the solar plexus. So we're talking about the spine, so we've got the middle section of the spine, really halfway up your back where the solar plexus is. And that's the central point of the growth for the sun prayer and for the camel as well. Let's take the arms up and we can start to visualize a movement that grows and flows from that region upwards. Take the hands down and look in. Take the right foot back. And as you come into the half moon, once again, take your awareness to the middle of your spine and picture that movement that flows right up through its length. Take the hands down and come into the plank. Knees, chest and forehead down. Slide forwards, come into the cobra. Again, be aware of the whole spine through its length. Push into the downward dog. Once again, the whole spine from the neck right up to the sacrum and the coccyx, the real length right the way through. Right foot forward. Take the awareness to the solar plexus in the middle. It's particularly that top section that needs to lengthen upwards from the solar plexus, and the line continues through the arms. Other foot forward and look right in. Come sweeping up. Take the awareness to the middle of the spine, that lengthening up, particularly through that top section, through between the shoulder blades. And take the hands down by your sides. Once again, hands together. Take the arms up, be aware of that middle section, lengthening through between the shoulder blades. A good mental picturing and also observation of the spine. Looking in. Left foot back. Moving up, growing up through between the shoulder blades. Come into the plank. Knees, chest and forehead down. Slide forwards, open into the cobra. Push into the downward dog. Good length right through the whole spine. Left foot forward. Take the awareness to the solar plexus, lengthen up through between the shoulder blades, through the arms. Other foot forward. Come right way up once again. Growing. And take the hands down. So the main thought that I want to keep coming back to is that the more we can really have an awareness of our whole spine, then the more the spine can form itself in all its sections. So I'd like to just take out of the sun prayer one particular position, which is a very unusual one, and it's this one where we put the knees, chest and face down onto the floor. In that position, there's a real lengthening of the upper spine, the thoracic spine. Just have a go at doing that. So you can come down, put your forearms on the ground and your knees, and then, well, actually, no, just put your hands down. It's probably better if you lift the elbows off the ground, and you can put your face down between your hands and stick your bottom in the air. And in that way, you can really become aware of the upper spine between the shoulder blades. You can feel that part of your spine really lengthening. From that position, you can then slide right forwards onto the floor until you come into the cobra. Right, just push into the cobra. Okay, come back to a sitting position. Just have another look with this one. Actually, I need to move, I'm going to move the camera down a tiny bit because you can't see the mat. What's important with this position is that when you slide forwards, the hands don't move. So we can come down and then slide right the way forwards as we come into the cobra. The hands stay fixed. So have another go. Come onto your hands and knees. Drop your face down in between your hands, bum right up in the air. You can become aware of the upper spine and then slide right forwards without moving the hands. Then you come into that smooth curve of the cobra. Yeah, good. Come back up into a standing position. I find this exercise a really good way to really activate that upper part of the spine. Let's do another round of the sun prayer with a particular emphasis on this top half of the spine this time, that this part is active. It's not just the lumbar region that's doing all the work, but there's a real flowing growth through that upper part. Hands together. So from the solar plexus upwards, through between the shoulder blades, right up through the arms. Take the hands down and look in. Right foot back, come into the half moon, growing up between the shoulder blades and the arms. Take the hands down, come into the plank. Knees, chest and forehead down, arching the back. Slide right forwards without moving the hands, so you open straight up into the cobra. Then push into downward dog. So be aware particularly of the upper spine this time between the shoulder blades. Right foot forward, coming into the half moon. Be aware of that spine between the shoulder blades lengthening. Then the other leg forward, looking right in. Coming up once again, be aware of the section of the spine between the shoulder blades. It grows and lengthens. Take the hands down, hands together. Taking the arms up, the section between the shoulder blades grows long. And take the hands down, looking in. Left foot back. Coming right up again, lengthening out of the solar plexus in the middle, right up through the upper spine and the arms. Come into the plank. Knees, chest and forehead down. Arching your back. Slide forwards. Cobra. Triangle, a good long stretch right through your back. Left foot forward. Growing, lengthening. And the other foot forward. looking in. Coming up once again and grow, lengthening, and take the hands down. Right, let's come to the standing head to knee position. This is another one where we can be aware of the spine in all its length, this time starting from the sacrum here. And we can literally picture a long flowing line, getting longer and longer, right through the length of the spine, out to the fingertips and beyond even. Take your hands above your head, draw your feet together, and then you move with your bottom backwards. The movement starts by pushing backwards with your sacrum. And you can come right the way forwards like this. Into the standing head to knee position. Our important focus today is on being aware of the spine. Being aware of the spine right through its length. Let's start with our awareness down at the base where the sacrum is. You can even direct that region backwards so that a flowing movement can be set free right through the whole length of the spine to flow forwards. Be aware of the section between the shoulder blades again. And then the arms form an extension. That flowing movement continues right out through the hands and fingers. And then relax. Hanging down and come right the way up into the standing half moon. Let's take our awareness once again to the spine as we grow. The spine is like a column, the central axis right through the middle, comprised of many different vertebrae, all linked by the discs in between. And these make it stretchy. It means that the spine can actually lengthen. If we think of it in this way, we can think of the spine as growing long. Take the hands down. The other thing that we have in the spine is the cerebrospinal fluid. So there is a fluid around the nerve that runs through the middle of the spine. We can literally think of the spine as a kind of fluid organism. It's not just one rigid pillar. It's a fluid organism because it's comprised of all these different vertebrae that are linked together. So the spaces in between each vertebra can grow. Let's do that movement again with this mental picture. The spine can flow. It can flow and it can therefore get longer. Hands up, legs drawn together, a good tightness around this sacrum region at the base. And come right the way into this flowing position outwards. Let's stay with that mental picture. The spine can literally pour itself outwards. It can get longer and longer. Stay with that picture. The spine flows outwards through its length. Stay with that thought. Then look in again. Come right the way back up to the standing position and grow. Let's stay with the thought. The spine now pours itself up into the space above you. It pours upwards. So it's growing longer. The arms grow longer as well. The arms eventually can straighten out completely. The elbows. And take the hands down. So we'll come to another exercise, the inclined plane. You come down into the sitting position. Let's start first of all with the bent leg version, which is slightly easier. And well, for most people, not for everybody. So feet apart for this one. Hips right up as high as you can. So feet apart does make it easier if you really have the feet quite wide apart for this one. And then you can get the hips up higher and then you can drop the head back Think of the shoulder blades. If we're coming back to that feeling of the thoracic spine, by drawing the shoulder blades together, you can lift your chest up more and you can stretch out the thoracic spine as well. Okay, come back down again. When we do the inclined plane, the thoracic spine is important. Although we start with a thrust of the hips, if we can also work that part, then it gives us more support in the actual position. We want, once again, the whole spine to be active. Can you take your hands back like this and draw your chest forwards and up, lifting up your breastbone, squeezing your shoulder blades together. Let's do that a few times. Just relax again. So I'd like your awareness to be on the thoracic spine, the part between the shoulder blades. Shoulder blades draw together. The breastbone lifts right up. Once again, relax. So you get the feeling of the difference between just relaxing that part of the spine and then once again actively opening the chest. Okay, and then to come into the actual inclined plane, we'll hold it for around about half a minute. And as we do it, try and picture the whole of the spine right through its length, forming a strong arc. So to come into the inclined plane, when you're ready, you can thrust right up with your hips, drop the head back, and then take your awareness to this picture. The whole spine in all its sections forms a good, strong, active arc. Meanwhile, the breath flows really lightly and freely. We can be aware of this contrast. The spine is a strong arc. The breath is free and light and open. So really allow your body to receive that breath. And then return again. So we can start our preparation for the camel. You come up onto a kneeling position. So we'll do some preparations, which will be fine for everybody to do. And then those of you who have issues with your lower back may prefer to just stay with the preparations rather than do the full camel. So our theme is awareness of the whole spine. And it's particularly the top section, this thoracic section here, which very often becomes blocked from our awareness. So for that reason, it's helpful to give that more focus. Let's take one arm up and we can think of that upper thoracic spine stretching and lengthening as you grow up from this middle section here right up through. Really active stretching. Other side. So our theme is awareness of the spine, particularly now the thoracic spine. It lengthens and grows. The solar plexus is the starting point. Come back again, just come into child's pose. And come back up. The camel is a position where we open ourselves. We open the whole front of the body. And it's quite good to in between, to do a contrasting movement in which we close ourselves. We've just done the child's pose, but another one is the downward dog. And in this one, we can really get a length right through the spine, but it's the opposite experience because we're closing in. We come into that position. And once again, awareness of the whole spine. If you'd like to do that position, everybody. Coming right up, and just hold it a little bit and just remain still, but stay with that mental picture that through the whole length of the spine, particularly that area between the shoulder blades, a lengthening can happen. Then return again onto your knees, come back up to a kneeling position again, knees a little bit apart, and this time we'll do some circles. The idea is that we lengthen to make the circle as big as we can. You can twist with each circle to look around a bit at your hands. So a few times on each side, but a real length. From the center of the circle, we form the biggest radius that we can. The radius includes the thoracic spine and the arm. A few times, growing, following the hand round with the eyes. And the other side. Let's do one more time on each side. Really good long circles. Okay, let's come once again into downward dog. Hands on the floor, coming up onto your toes, and this long thoracic spine, and lifting your sacrum up as high as you can as well. So once again, you're aware of the whole spine in its length. And come back down onto your knees. Come up into the kneeling position again for the camel. If we can have a good awareness of our whole spine, then the curve of the spine can form itself. So for the camel, we have that shape, an arc. And I want you to have a look before you come into it, even though you've seen this many times before, some of you. But it's really important that you have a good mental picture. By being aware of the spine, I form it into an arc. So I make this big arc with my hand, then a big arc with the other hand. The spine makes the picture of an arc, and this is the highest point there. So if you have issues with your lower back, then you probably better to just stick with these circles that we've just been doing, or simply just that lengthening, which is healthy for the to stretch out the lower back. So knees are a bit apart for the camel, like that. And then take one arm up. Be aware of that starting point, your solar plexus. Really build up that length and then come in a great big circle all the way around. You can always put your toes up on the ground so you've got less far to reach for your heels. And come right into the position, being aware of this round arc that you make with your whole spine. And when you come out of the position, big sweeping circular movements quite quickly. And back into child's pose. Okay, I'd like to just demonstrate the camel once again. So if we can build up a momentum in it, it can be easier. Rather than sort of being too careful, you tend to get stuck. But if you can really grow and stretch and make a great big circle, and grow and stretch and really make a great big circle, you build up a good strength. Coming out again, the momentum is necessary. So if you'd like to try it one more time and come up onto your knees, and you can again put the toes up like that to make it a bit easier if you wish. So take the arms up and a big stretch right the way around in a huge circle. Keep it going right the way around, right down to the heel. Then the other side, a good active lift and stretch right the way around. Drop the head right back and open up the chest. Hips quite far forward as well. Keep that mental picture that your whole spine comes into an active arc. And then to come out of the position, one arm at a time, big circular movement right the way forward, and come into the child's pose. And come back up. And we'll finish off then with Yoga Mudra. Now, you can either do this in a kneeling position. I'll just demonstrate how this looks in a kneeling position. We start with the arms up. And this, once again, it's a position of consciousness. It's not just sinking into the ground. It's a position in which we can observe the body becoming closer to the ground. The easier way is in the kneeling position, but if you're able to do it in lotus or half lotus position with your, or just with your legs crossed, then that's a more intensive stretch. What I'd like you to be aware of in this position in particular is the breath. Even though the body becomes very still, the breath remains in motion. It remains very free. It remains light. It remains, the breath flows in from the atmosphere back out into the atmosphere again. So in your, whichever your chosen position is, take your arms above your head. And let's pause to become aware of the breath already in this sitting position. So the body is close to the ground. The breath comes and goes from the surrounding air. Come forward. Quite consciously, take the hands onto the ground. Let them slide as far forwards as possible. Keeping the breath in its free movement, you can gradually lower the forehead onto the floor. So the body is in stillness, the breath is in motion. You can stay with that thought. Come back up once again. Take the arms up above the head. And take the hands down by your sides. So I just want to finish by reminding you of our main thought for today, which was that through an awareness of the spine, it forms itself. If we can be aware of the spine in all its sections, then the spine can come into a harmonious form. So maybe in this final sitting position now, you can just direct your awareness one last time to your spine, which in this position is like an upright column. It's the central axis through your back. And just stay with that idea. Where there is an awareness, then there can be form. And let's finish the session there.